Welcome to this video in which we will discuss how you can design your own board game. And I have done this for a famous board game where we created several accessories, so I can guide you from every step along the way, from idea to actually launching it on the market. So without much further ado, let's get started. So there are different types of games, so you should try to identify which type of game you want. And you can do a market research on Amazon, for example, to see which ones are selling well. And a lot of Amazon listings, you can see how many units have been sold in the past few months. Or you can also use a tool such as Jungle Scout to get an idea what board games are selling really well. And this will allow you to get an idea of what groups or what markets are still wide open. For example, you can look at certain themes or interests that are gaining popularity in the past few months and adjust your approach based on that. You can also look at what game dynamics are working really well. For example, a few years ago, party games were doing very well because Cards of Humanity was leading the way, and a lot of people surfed that wave better and also had a lot of success. So in games, you also see a lot of trends and themes coming by. So it's always interesting if you can play into that. Obviously, you can also look into a Board Game Geek or on Kickstarter to see what games are working really well and use that as inspiration for your game. That's a little different approach than just coming up with an idea yourself without doing any market research at all. You can also go the other way around and start from market research and build ideas from there. So there are both ways to go from this. Personally, I enjoy starting with some market data just to see what's going on or what people are interested in. Because if you start just from an idea, it might not resonate with the interest of people and your efforts might have been wasted. So that's just a personal preference. So I enjoy starting with some market data and then using this to generate ideas because it can provide already some guidance on what is working instead of just having an idea and then hoping it fits with the market dynamics at the moment. So looking at current products can also give you an idea. For example, what teams are working. There are, for example, games about national parks in the USA, or there are games related to specific sports groups or like famous sport franchises. So all of these can guide your ideas and just provide some insights and what's possible. And at first you have to be quite flexible with your ideas. So don't fall in love with your first idea, but try to keep an open mind and maybe even create a long list of ideas that you can test for later on. And this can be quite challenging because sometimes we fall in love with our ideas, but we should keep an open mind and just try to see what works for people. Once you have done that, we can start creating our first version of the game, and you can just create a prototype using some pen and paper and maybe some existing pieces such as Lego items and so on. You can also try to ask ChatGPT or other AI tools to see what game dynamics you can use and use this to make the game more interesting. So as I mentioned before, you can create a prototype quite easily and maybe invite some friends to give it a shot and see what they like and what they don't like. And some games iterate like over several months or even years before they come up with the final result. So be willing to put a lot of time and effort in actually refining the game because along the way you'll notice that people misunderstand your ideas, or that you could approach it in a different way. So once again, be open-minded, and just enjoy the process of improving the game. A lot of people are in love with their idea and think it's the best one ever, but once you start talking to people and getting an idea, if people enjoy it or not, you can refine it. And if you don't have any friends to do this, you can go to a local board game cafe and maybe like organize an evening where you invite people to join. In some instances, you can also provide them with drinks or with snacks just to motivate people, because the game might be quite rough at first. So, But in board games, board game cafes, you often have experienced people, and this can really help you out a lot. You can also try to create a small community around your game and try to invite people multiple times. For example, that they come once a month to try it out and provide further feedback. You can also credit these people on the packaging or on the manual, just to give them an incentive to keep providing feedback as well. Once you have a better idea of the game itself, you can hire freelancers on Upwork or on Fiverr, or obviously use AI systems to already create some visuals. And once again, you can iterate on this based on feedback of people. And once you have everything in place, you can start creating content around it, create an Instagram account or a YouTube account, and just post information to see how people react to it. Try to create a cool hook for your video so people get engaged immediately. And once again, you can get feedback from the community once people see what's going on and get more insights. So in terms of marketing, obviously you will have to produce the items in some instances, but the big advantages of crowdfunding is that you can get more market validation before you actually invest your first dollar into manufacturing. And that's the big advantage of running a Kickstarter campaign. Obviously, this is not easy, and you need a big list before the Kickstarter campaign goes live, because you should try to fund or reach the funding limits almost on the first day to generate momentum and attract more people. You might also have to start a Facebook ads campaign just to reach your goals. And to do this, it's important that you know the margins. So that's why it's always interesting to already reach out to a manufacturer to know how much things will cost. And to do this, you can actually just create an overview of everything that is needed. For example, you can generate just a PDF file with an overview of all the game pieces that are needed, the size of the board game, the size of the box. And this can already provide the manufacturer an idea of how much it will cost. Then you also have to take the shipping costs into account, because most board games are made in China or in Asia. And you really need to have a great idea of how much it will cost before you launch even a Kickstarter campaign. And how do you find your manufacturer? Well, you can look on Alibaba and enter the search term board games. And then you filter based on the reviews of the manufacturer and also how long they have been in business. And this is then you message the manufacturer and get an idea of how much it will cost. You don't have to share every single detail, such as the artwork, but you should get a pretty good idea what the cost basis is to know how much you should charge for your game itself. And then if you don't want to do that, it's also possible to launch the game immediately on Amazon, but then you already take the inventory risk because it's possible that it's not going to sell well. So that's actually the two main approaches I would take. So either Kickstarter or sell it on Amazon. And once you have done that, you can use this proof to leverage this to reach out to offline distributors. Because if you're just going to reach out to distributors without any proof that it's a popular game, they're probably not going to accept it. So try to focus first on your online sales, and once you have some social proof that it's selling well, then you can just create a one-pager, and that's just explaining what the game is, and then also some cost breakdown. And then you reach out to some popular board game distributors, and from there you'll get feedback on if they're interested or not. And this can take quite some time. You obviously can also go to board game conferences or conventions where these distributors are as well. These local events can also help you to find some customers or get some feedback. But this is obviously a longer term play, and I prefer to start online selling the products and then later on reaching out to distributors. You can also obviously work with some press to get hype around your game, and use this as leverage as well. And as I mentioned before, there are several ways to go, and I prefer to start online and move to offline later on. But you can always try to reach out to distributors earlier, but in my experience, it's not easy because they only stock a limited amount of games, and they also might request that you fund the inventory, and this can really affect your cash flow because you need to have money to buy the first batch, and then to keep it in stock you also need money for the second batch. So from a cash flow perspective, this can be really challenging. If you have relationships with the manufacturer, they might want to help you with floating this, but having enough cash on hand to fund your board game can be really challenging. So that's why crowdfunding platforms such as Kickstarter or Indiegogo are a great way to go. If you have more cash, you can also go the Amazon route, but then you take the inventory risk and you also have to fund the inventory in advance. And the same is true without using offline retailers. So that's actually why these crowdfunding platforms are great, because you take less risks in advance. Obviously, launching a Kickstarter campaign is not easy. It takes a lot of preparation, and the big advantage of this is that you can relaunch a campaign. So if the first one doesn't work, you can always try a second time. But in general, you want to be prepared, you want to have a big list, and it's not easy. I might have to try it several times before you have a successful Kickstarter campaign. And as you can see, launching a board game can take quite a while and a lot of effort and refinement. So be mentally prepared to spend a lot of time and energy on it, and it's not something that will happen overnight. You have this one idea and everything will magically happen. Probably will need several ideas, several iterations, several campaigns. It's going to take a long time and can be frustrating, but if you're really excited about bringing your board game to life, it's obviously worth it, but just be mentally prepared. It's a long process with some frustration. Obviously, it can be fun as well. You meet a lot of great people along the way, but it's a process and not something that happens overnight. So with that parting message, I want to thank you for watching this video and wish you a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.